You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
This is Zoom the TBT. Charge and Hayner on the call. What's up, Charge?
Hey, what's going on, Hayner? Yeah, we're about 2 weeks out from the application period ending, so coming on quick. A lot of activity this week, so excited to talk about it.
We were actually updating our deck today up until today. Usually, the joke is always I'm actually updating the deck usually within a minute of going on the air, which is always how poorly run our producer does. But the reality is today we were actually done, but there's one late ad we're going to talk about a little bit to the show. So first things first, let's kind of get into it. It's been some pretty big news happening in the TBT world. And your first thing last week, again, if you guys remember, we talked about it. The Rucker Park Regional was announced, which makes the whole thing. Now we know the 8 regions. Charge, we've been talking about travel. You're still wanting to go to Cincy pretty hard, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's from a geography standpoint, really close to home for me. So that's kind of number one, nice, cheap, easy trip. But number two, that thing's just loaded with talents. Some teams that are friends of the pod, some teams that are just really high level. So I think this is going to be the overall top regional, top to bottom from a talent standpoint. So it's not to be missed.
I will say the humor standpoint is obviously Rucker Park is in the city of New York where I reside. As you see behind me, I'm in New York City, as you see from the small apartment. And the reality is like the distance between Dayton and Cincy is what, an hour and a half?
Yeah, it's not far. Not far, very close.
The difference between Brooklyn and Rucker Park is about an hour and a half within the same city. So like literally it's going to take me as long to get to Rucker as it does for people going between Cincy and Dayton to get around, which is kind of hilarious. Anyway, so we got the region set up and who they play. And obviously, you start gaming out how they're going to end up playing. You start talking about which regions are going to play each other. And so for some reason, there we go. The call is getting a little bit. We're having a little bit of internet problems here. Omaha, Wichita play each other. So your Midwestern Heartland teams. Xavier, Rucker, your urban areas. Dayton, West Virginia, and then Syracuse, New Mexico. That's where the region's going to feed, which makes a pretty interesting lineup of the teams we're going to face. So first of all, Charge, before we get too deep into this, we've had some movement on our one line. Maybe we should talk about this first of all. The teams that we think, and again, this is still early. Teams and rosters are still kind of coming to the lane, but we've had a little bit of movement on our 1 seed line. And again, our internet connection is a little tight today, so we'll go ahead and what happens. But again, no movement in Wichita, Syracuse, West Virginia, Dayton, or Omaha. Hines, Shocks, Boeheims, West Virginia, and Dayton's Golden Eagles, they all hold their 1 seed. 3 just one line. Of the Xavier, New Mexico, Rucker, and respectively being Sideline, Heartfire, and Ace, which one surprises you the most that moved to a 1 seed?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think Sideline Cancer. I don't think anyone's going to debate, Sideline Cancer being one of the top teams in the entire tournament. But when you're talking about Florida TNT being the Final Four team from last year, going to Xavier, they have all their same players back, plus Blakeney and Rob Gray. This is a better team than they were last year on paper that went to the Final Four. So you can't disrespect my guy Terry. He proved it last year. He has the squad to go deep, and they got even better. So I think, just based on TBT history, they used to reward the team that did well in the past. And so I think we're definitely going to see Florida TNT there. Mike Dahm, I see your note there. Does he make Sideline a number 1 seed? No.
So that's the question,
give
right?
Respect to Florida TNT.
No, a lot of these seeds are really obviously very close. It's more helpful to think of these teams as clusters as opposed to like true 1s or true 2s or true 3s. And I would say the line between Sideline and TNT really is a razor thin one. I put Sideline over TNT because of the Dom edition, but I could be talking to TNT or Sideline. And frankly, Zip 'em Up's right on the outside too. So really there is a 3-way race for that 1 seed. And that even leaves out a team like, maybe the money team might get in there. So that's it's going to be a bloodbath. It's probably the strongest region. We'll get region to region in a minute. But like Cincy being the 1 seed gives you no gifts. It's going to be an absolute disaster anyway. So anyway, I don't know. So also the Rutgers a bit of a guess too, right? We have Ace there, but there's still some room at the end there. So we'll talk about what these regions mean. But again, no surprises in Omaha, Wichita, Syracuse, West Virginia, or Dayton. Those are all 1 seeds. I think fairly clear. I do want to touch on Wichita a bit when we get there. So, Charge, I guess it's time to get into the specific regions real quick. So, first of all, we're going to start in Omaha, and we're going to start the 1 seed, Team Hines, obviously a credible 1 seed, versus the B1 Ballers. What do you like about this matchup in a sort of conceptual sense?
I don't know what I like about it. I just know Hines is going to run them off the court. We're starting to get there. And this is one we got to see where things play out. I know later in the slide you got a team like the guys St. Louis, who we don't know a whole lot about, but looks like pure entertainment. I would rather see the guys team in the 8 spot versus a B1 Ballers. But Hines is going to come in loaded this year. Based on some of the things I've heard and some of the people.
Heard they have a wallet this year.
Yeah, they'll do pretty well. They'll do pretty well, and I'm sure they were able to get players that they wanted last year overseas. They can pick their guys, but yeah. So I don't think this is going to be an intriguing matchup if it plays out that way. I think Hines rolls, but like I said, I definitely think B1 buy-in last year. So they did buy in last year. We believe the Omaha spot's already taken this year, so they're going to have to get in on their roster. But I think there's a couple more appealing options out there that they need to consider.
Definitely. And by the way, this will be our first slide we show about the brackets. But we're going to also discuss the buy-in teams at the end because some of them are known, some of them are not. So basically, helpful to know going into this bracketology, if you are on the 7 or 8 line, you're not the buy-in team, the buy-in's taken, it's time to get real nervous. We break this down numerically where the bubble is. So if you're on this bracket, one, it's helpful to know that like Charge and I have no idea what we're talking about. Let's just be honest. We're both idiots. And two, also the buy-ins will wreak havoc. So the bubble spots, you can reduce them directly by the spots people buy as a 1-to-1 ratio. And again, looking at this, you've got a pretty intriguing matchup. The underdogs versus Always a Brave, a matchup of 2 teams that won last year, always credible teams. The underdogs have just grown past the point of getting an 8 seed. They're no longer a team that deserves to be a low seed. Even though they're not a professional team, they definitely come into play every time. And again, Always a Brave, always comes in, always comes hard. A very credible program would be a great fit in Omaha. I know this matchup's a little exciting to you. Blue Crew versus the assumed, they haven't applied yet, but the assumed overtime elite team. So, Charge, that's a pretty juicy little matchup, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's juicy. And I think once overtime elite is announced, we believe they're going there. We believe they're going to be a lock, and I believe they're not going to be a 6 seed after their team is announced. Obviously, they have a lot of money they can put behind the team. They have a lot of young up-and-coming stars, and maybe they package some veterans around it. But it's going to be an exciting team, and I just don't think they're going to stand at a 6 when all said and done. So maybe this is a 2 versus someone. But Omaha Blue Crew, they're going to have that home crowd behind them. They had a great season last year, so they can pick up a couple extra pieces and make a good run. That's going to be fantastic. But yeah, overtime elite's going to be really, really good based on everything I'm hearing out there.
Yeah, I absolutely love the concept. I actually, as a guy who's a college guy, I love college basketball. It's my favorite sport of all the sports. But I like the idea of some of these guys skipping college and getting paid. I mean, my labor's worth time. Why isn't theirs? Why can't they get paid? So the idea of like, and again, you have your NIL deals, that sort of thing. But the idea of like being able to be paid as a professional while you're still a young person makes sense. The idea of getting measured for NBA or European pro careers against actual pros in a high pressure cash environment is an experience worth its weight in gold. And I can't believe the marketing hub. So this is something we've heard about as a rumor. They have not applied yet. This would be really exciting. We think if they do enter, which we think they will, they're a definite team to be watched. Finishing out your bracket on this side, we've got Always Us versus the Crew. Charge, one of your favorite players of all time played for the Crew. I know you're a big Bryce Drew guy. And then, of course,
that guy, the big shot from like 1970 or something that I'm supposed to remember. Yeah, that guy.
Not you're old enough to remember 1970. How old are you? 57, 84? I can't remember your exact age.
Come on, I'm right
you're
there.
You're at least 30 years older than me. I always forget exactly how much older you are than me.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah, this one's going to be fun. I mean, the Crew, like I said, I love what we're seeing this year with a lot of alumni teams entering into the arena. We're getting some of these kind of mid-level teams. We still haven't seen a lot of breakouts. I know Indiana's rumored to be coming, which we'll talk about later. So we haven't seen some of those large programs come in, but I think it's pretty cool that I'd rather see a team like the Crew or a team like Boise State, which we'll talk about later again, but versus kind of a bubble team that doesn't really have an identity. So I love the fact that we're seeing a nice influx of new alumni teams this year.
Yeah, definitely. And so this is a great way to discuss what else happens on a slide. So we're going to discuss then also teams that aren't in here based on the concept of what teams have been bought, what teams are in the bubble, and what teams have not yet applied. And again, we're having a slight internet problem tonight, which we'll survive and play through because we're gamers. But you'll see on the slide right there, you've got the buy team. The buy team is bought. Now, Charge, I believe we think that team probably will be overtime elite, correct?
I would assume so because they haven't shown up anywhere yet. They haven't really promoted their product, but it's obvious money's not an option, or an issue with these guys. So I assume that they're going to be the buy-in team here. It's already bought. We know that from the website. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of who it is, and we believe that to be the case. And but they're going to put up something special there. So just really watch out for that.
This will be a fun region. So every slide for each individual team we're talking about, we're going to break the bubble. We're going to break the last point into the buy team, whether it's been purchased or not. We'll go ahead and say the number now. 5 of the 8 buy teams have been purchased, which means TBT has gotten $120,000 out of people to run teams, which means Charge and I deserve a cut out of that $120,000. No, I'm kidding. No, but also we'll break the bubble into teams that are bubble and have applied and teams that have not yet applied that are credible. And the real surprise in this, you want to talk about the guys from St. Louis, but like Hoopville Warriors have not applied, and a team that we're wondering if it's going to run, House of Pain has not yet applied. They've been a pretty big name. What's going on there? Have they decided not to run this year?
Yeah, I would be surprised. Haven't heard a word. Usually they're very active on social media leading into these events. So that's where, Hayner and I kind of are leaning towards possible out. It's uncharacteristic. They had Dom on their team. Brandon Paul played last year, so maybe it's just a matter of a couple of stars that they were going to lean on to make a deep run. Weren't able to put it all together, but I don't have a good vibe just based on they're usually way more active than they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we're going to see this. From going on this discussion from now on, you're going to see basically the teams we think are in as of today. If there's a buy team that will shove someone out, what the bubble looks like, and who has not yet applied that we think we need to at least mention as a credible team. So again, if you're one of these teams at the 7-8 line, you see that buy team bought, it's time to amp up your game because you're in a bit of trouble. So even if you're on the brackets now, besides the fact we don't even know anything because we're idiots, also keep in mind those buy teams are lurking. So again, Omaha, what do you think? Hines comes out of here probably, right?
Yeah, I'm still going to wait on the Overtimes Elite. I get this vibe from Overtimes Elite that it's going to be like a G League Ignite kind of vibe where you got these really young superstars with some good, solid veterans playing alongside of them. And so it's going to be an exciting team. I mean, Hines obviously is going to be the favorite because you're going to get the big names. You're going to get those overseas pros out there that we're used to seeing with Hines. But, you get some of that young energy with some vets. I think Overtimes Elite is going to be very, very dangerous here.
All right, so we got a dark horse and a favorite. Let's go on to the next region. So we've got our bracketology moving along to the Xavier region. The Xavier region, in my mind, it's just by far, it's by far the most loaded region. I don't think it's close, right?
Yeah, no. So far, some of these are filling out really, really nice. So as we go through them, you'll see a couple kind of butt up against here. But I think Xavier right now, or the Cincinnati region, is definitely the one to watch, especially with the powerhouse teams at the top that we already talked about.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute disaster. If you can go somewhere else, if you have a different region to go to, pack your bags. Do not go to Xavier. It's just going to be crazy. And we're going to start right at the top. And a sideline cancer versus Fort Wayne. First of all, sideline, obviously, you got Thompson, you got Keene, you got Dom, you got Creek, you got Abel, you got Bogues, you've got a Crocker, you've got a loaded team, and they're still shopping for more reinforcements. So sideline is going to come to play. And whether you think they're the credible number one or who we have as the second seed, TNT is credible number one, you have some really great teams. So that's a nightmare. And the Fort Wayne chance being 8 seed, that just shows you how deep this region is. Fort Wayne is nobody's 8 seed. This is a really credible team. So this is like the pain starts from tip. You go into this region, it's going to be tough. I mean, this is, as opposed to the last region, this is a very appetizing 1-8, correct?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think you're going to get a better 1-8. Obviously, Garrett and his guys come in ready to play every year. They gave Sideline a nice run last year. Shorthanded situation, had a couple injuries, unfortunately, or that would have been quite the battle last year. But yeah, for 1-8, you're not going to get a better one across the region. And obviously, what you'll say here is there's going to be a buy-in here, so I don't know how good that buy-in is going to be. I don't believe they're on the website yet, but the buy-in spot is gone. But yeah, if this truly becomes a 1-8, that's ridiculous, and just poor luck. We don't know where some of these teams are going to be ultimately. Is Fort Wayne declared on the website? I didn't check today before that.
Fort Wayne is not declared, I believe, by region. And I believe our faithful Bracketology starter pack, which I believe was you, put them there. I will say this. Every team, this is the only reason we have this. There are no bubble teams in Xavier. Every team is getting in if they want to go, which means someone might have to move, but they'll still get in. So one of these teams, if they don't go to Xavier, is going to bump another regional team. All 8 of these guys are in, hard in. So if they move, but they're in. Speaking about buy teams, let's talk a little bit about boxing. Talk a little bit about money. You got TMT, the money team, backed by Floyd Money Mayweather. And as the 5 seed, and this is purely on matchups, we don't know about their team, about Billions, which is Cincinnati's own Adrian Broner. So a boxing matchup, a cash matchup, money's in the name. Is this a case where Broner just puts up the money and buys his way in? If he's about Billions, he's about 20 grand, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously that ship sailed. So based on what we know, the buy-in spot's gone. I don't believe it's about Billions based on what we're hearing out there. So I think that ship has sailed. They didn't get in last year. Broner did get on inside the TBT last year. Had a fun little interview with those guys. But
from the bed, he was so relaxed.
The team looks a little bit better than they were built last year, so I think they're a legit bubble team. But depending on where teams go, are they flexible? Are they willing to move? But a buy-in team here can knock about Billions out pretty quickly. I hope it doesn't happen because just the money team about Billions matchup would be a lot of fun, especially for the locals down there and the folks who follow kind of boxing and basketball will get a good kick out of that one. So I'm hoping they don't get bumped, but I think they're probably the most at risk in this regional because I don't believe they're to buy-in right now.
Yeah, I mean, the seeds are so flat here. I mean, I think 1 and 2, slight separation 3, and then 4 down, you're pretty flat. So I don't think it's a question of – we did seeding purely for matchups here pretty much for the most part. But I will say this. I want to be very clear about this. I don't think anyone's getting bumped. They're getting moved. Someone might get moved. No one's getting bumped. Someone might be asked to move. There's a very – we'll get to the team. There's a very clear team to move here. We'll get to that in a minute. So you're 3-6. And this is the one I really want to see. Zip them up versus the 6th seed and the Nasty Natty. That's who I want to see. That's the reason they're having it in this location. And you can't see it on the graphic. Finally, they come up on the graphic. Zip them up as a 3. The Natty is a 6. Is going to be the round of the tournament.
Yeah, I think I heard what you said through the wonderful New York City internet. So it is still on dial-up and takes you an hour and a half to get 5 miles across town. So does the internet speed. But this is definitely, I think, the first round matchup that. Once again, I think you have like a sideline cancer Fort Wayne, intriguing, one of the best 1-8s ever. But I don't know if there's ever going to be a better first round matchup than Zip 'em Up and Nasty Natty. It's a crosstown rivalry. It's going to be a lot of fun. The place is going to be packed. It's going to be insane. I don't think based on the teams in Cincinnati right now, there's any way that they don't give the fans this matchup in the first round. I don't think there's any other way around it. I don't think anybody on Zip 'em Up or Cincinnati would want anything differently than this matchup in the first round. So no, this one cannot be missed. I can't wait to see this one go down. And there probably will be a fight.
If you see the chat, it's there will be a fight at Natty Zip. Hopefully. That'd be really
will
fun.
JP be at the center of it? Most likely. I'm pretty sure if there's some talk going on, I'm pretty sure JP's gonna be in there somewhere.
Love it. Okay, so again, talking about your seeds here, we've got your 2 seed TNT versus your 7 D2. We've already made your feelings known on TNT being a credible number 1. That's fine. They can be a 1 or a 2. They're basically even. The team that really needs to move here is D2, right? Because they don't necessarily have a Holloman Xavier, and they really could go very naturally to West Virginia again, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. They were there last year and, won a game there last year. solid team closer to home. So, if they end up in Xavier, they're going to be in for a tough matchup no matter who they play, unless they somehow draw a different seed. But, based on what's kind of lining up here in the matchup, it's going to be a tough run in Cincinnati.
So it's interesting because we did the seed lines throughout the entire bracketology, and we absolutely have D2 as a upper half seed in the other couple of regions we had them in. We put them in 2 other regions as a test, and I have them as a 4 in West Virginia, and I have them as a 7 here, which is just insanity. So I think there's a real issue with them. They're the easiest team to move. Looking at the bubble too, you got the entry team has been bought, and the entry team we don't think's on the board. So this is the 8 teams not accounting for a bought team. So there's a 9th team that's going to bump or move a team, right? That's what we're thinking. There is a bought team that we're
absolutely
not seeing.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's a full house. That bubble, Defeat Diabetes, Hoops for ALSF, both credible teams. They probably need to pack their bags. They probably don't belong at Xavier, correct?
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Defeat Diabetes doesn't try to get into Rucker. Who's for ALSF? Like I said, we had those guys on the show a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember, but those guys, man alive, what great attitudes they have. They're just happy to be part of TBT in any former fashion. So I hope they find a getaway in, but if not, they're going to be out there, supporting their cause and trying to get involved at any way they can. So I still think it's a tough road just based on their circumstances and how deep the TBT is every year, but love to see them in there. The region, I think, is going to be an out this year. Looking through, I thought the name looked familiar, but I believe the coach of the region in years past is now the coach of Salt Lake City Dream. And so I'm assuming the region who struggled, had some good talent on their teams, had some good players in the past, struggled to put it all together. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a reboot down in Salt Lake City. And I think the region will probably go by the wayside. But the 2 we haven't heard boo from is Overlooked and Volunteers. So if they come back through, then obviously big players that we need to be taken seriously. But once again, it's just kind of an interesting year where there's not as much noise or jockeying from some folks, and getting me a little nervous if they're still in play or not.
Well, I will say one thing about that is also I saw that I believe Eberline signed a former Murray State Racers player, which also might hurt their odds, because if another racer is signing another team, that might let you know about the Overlooked. And if the Volunteers are here, they'd be a credible team, but we know they wouldn't make Dayton because, again, how many times have they made the Final Four? 0 times. They've never made a Final Four. So, again, Volunteers, you want to come in here and yell at me, I'll just say no Final Four until you guys log off. Now, there's about we have the money team, we have the about billions. So those things are all about money, right? Those are all about money. Those are things that are about cash, right? That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Cash.
All about cash.
One thing, what's interesting about cash, though, is things like crypto and sort of NFTs. These are things that have come out. So, for example, there is a team coming out. Now, what's the name? I believe it's the Gutter Cat Gang, correct? They're a team that's going to be involved in this soon coming up, right? So,
yes, sir.
And we want to go ahead and introduce a guest here. We've got Brandon Foreman, who is a really good guy. He has been the GM previously of the Broad Street Bullies, and he is helping set up the Gutter Cat Gang team this year. Brandon, thanks for coming on. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Sorry, I meant to join at 9:20, but I didn't realize I had to click join the video. I thought it would just automatically take me into the show. So
it's fine. We had a few things to talk about, and we want to wait till a good stopping point to get you on. So First of all, what is a gutter cat? Let's get to that part first.
All right. So I know I have a lot of convincing to do for you because I know that
us old guys, we don't quite get it.
But
specifically me. Go ahead. Yeah.
But, specifically, the Gutter Cat Gang is an NFT project that was created approximately a year ago. And essentially, it was started as a 3,000 digital cat collection. So basically what it is it's basically you have you mint. So when you mint something, it's like you basically buy something and you play the lottery. So there's 3,000 cats and there's different rarities based on what you mint or pull. So it's like pulling a sports card essentially.
Sure.
So the rarer that you have, the more value that it'll have on the secondary market. So basically they've evolved from the 3,000 cats and they've expanded the community to have 3,000 dogs, 3,000 pigeons, 3,000 rats. And the thing that I love about the NFT space is that they're building like a community of people that have similar interests, and they're trying to build like a streetwear brand similar to like a Puma, Nike, stuff like that. And one of their big emphasis like on marketing has been to like use have like NBA athletes wear their logos, and just having that aspect. Dan Friel actually reached out to me about like 5-6 months ago, and he's like, "Do you own a gutter cat?" And I was cracking up when he messaged me, because I'm like, I thought I was like this idiot purchasing a digital cat for $8,000, and now the commissioner of TBT is reaching out to me asking if I have a gutter cat. So just hearing that, I thought it was pretty funny, and I think it's just kind of the reason I love this community so much is, one, they're passionate about sports. So when they heard the news that we were entering a team in the tournament, they were extremely excited. I don't know if you saw the engagement all over Twitter, the excitement from the community. So we essentially have like an alumni fan base, but it's really just a crypto community. So I think this is like the next step in the growth of the tournament, is having these crypto communities join, because as you guys know, that the cost of being able to afford to take part in this tournament is going up every year. It's much more expensive. So for us, this seemed like a no-brainer to kind of help with our brand exposure for the Gutter Cat Gang. Just trying to spread the word out about the brand, because it's more than just a digital image, which is what a lot of people think. There's a lot of messages I'll get on Twitter when I post my cat. Oh, I just right-click saved your cat. I have it now. But it's a lot different than just the perception that it's just a digital image. I think the whole point of it is to be a part of a community where you can go to events and be around the people that you're in a community with, and just having this aspect where I was able to be a part of the TBT because of having a gutter cat. That in itself is worth the price of what I paid for the digital image. So it's really more than just you purchasing a digital image and being able to sell it. So I think that's the thing that I value the most about this community. But don't get me wrong, like the NFTs in general, there are a lot of NFTs that will go to zero. So Hayner, I know that your perception, we got to kind of try to change your mind on this a little bit, but overall, I just love being a part of the Gutter Cat community, and just I want to help their brand exposure, and also be a part of this tournament every year, which is something that I've loved doing since it was created.
Okay, so let's parse out a lot. So there's a lot of good things in there. One thing I would say, and I want to give you some credit on this also, because I think it's really unfair to you, is you were a member of the TBT community before you had a Gutter Cat. You've been a member of this before. You've been a GM, so you're not invited to the party to be a GM just because of this. Let's skip that part now. It helps for sure this year, but like Brandon Foreman is an OG in this community. So let's skip a part where you're like, this is how you're in. You're in regardless as a community member, right? You know that.
Yeah.
But I will say what's interesting. So the NFT thing, and I'm actually an architect. You guys know that. I'm actually a designer by trade. So I am not against the concept of the technology. I get the concept of an NFT, what it means, that you're basically, it's used to basically, in many ways you have purchased the right to say you have an image. It's a non-exclusive right, obviously, but you have the use of an image. In my view, I think it's a very interesting technology, but I see it less as an investment and more as akin to tipping an artist whose work you admire. Is that a valid way of looking at the community from that standpoint?
So that is a good way to put it. The only problem is that a lot of like the great digital art that's available is not something that's being purchased by people and has value. So I think it's kind of like right now we're in a phase where it was a big bull run for a while where people would just buy something and flip it. And it could look, I mean, there's some of the ugliest NFTs out there right now that people are flipping for thousands of dollars. So there is a lot of negative in the space, but I think that if you choose the right, projects to be a part of, you understand where the technology is going. But in terms of just pure digital art, I still don't think that we're there yet in terms of like people appreciating that. It's going to take a lot of time, I think, but yeah, you're right. I mean, your perception is correct. Like we should be focusing on, all the great artists that are putting out digital artwork and just kind of embracing that. But we're not really in that phase yet. It's more of just like profile picture art where people want to like have their paint a public persona of like their alter ego. So like my cat that I post on Twitter is like my alter ego. So people in the community don't even know what I look like. They picture me as a cat. So I apologize if they have to look at me now and I don't look as good as my cat. But
So one thing I find interesting, and by the way, you look delightful, Brandon. You're a very attractive man, if you don't mind me saying so. I'm secure enough in my sexuality to say that. So I'm going to share some actually, because this is something I am skeptical of, but also in this case, I'm actually looking at the numbers. It's a little defensive here because some of these things have just the bottom fallen out. And this one's actually kind of held. There was a bump, but like it hasn't really gone down to the point. Now it's like it's gone down a little, but the numbers aren't insane here. Like it's still within the reason.
So that's
it had
just
a bump. Sure.
That's just the cat collection. So we actually have, we also have 3,000 gutter dogs, 3,000 gutter pigeons, and 3,000 gutter rats. So those statistics aren't included in that. And then we also have 20,000 clones, which are a cheaper, affordable entry point for that people that wanted to be a part of our community. So you can get a clone for as cheap as like $200 right now on the secondary markets. So I think that was a big emphasis.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask the brass that question. You've been very cool. I think it's kind of fair. What would you say to someone? I'm not saying this is necessarily my view. I don't want to say it because I kind of can see both ends. I see NFTs having a really good space about being a way to appropriately credit artists and to have some financial things for the artists. But at the same time, if you see it purely as an investment at this point, I am concerned it might go down to zero. I won't use the word scam because some people have said that. I'm not going to do that because I don't think it is one. I think technology is there. What do you tell people who are concerned about the wild price fluctuations of the NFT market in general?
Yeah, what I tell people first and foremost is not to overinvest and to a point where you feel that it's going to affect your daily life. So I think that's the most important thing. Like this is a very volatile, investment, and I've made a lot of money elsewhere outside of the Gutter Cat Gang, but I've sold everything because I didn't necessarily believe in a lot of the other stuff that I had.
Sure.
The Gutter Cat Gang, my investment in that is something that I believe in long term, so I haven't really sold any of that stuff. But as long as you're not over invested in this stuff and it's like another source of like investing for you, I would just advise people that are new to just investing in NFT, pick a community that you kind of, vibe with and can identify with. Like I identified with this community because of their sports prevalence and their interest in like becoming a streetwear brand in both sports and hip hop. So that was just what I was looking for in terms of like networking and building, my network. And I've met so many people just from being a part of that. Like I'm one of the people that I'm doing the tournament with. He was in the Gutter Cat Gang like before I was, and he's like close friends with Duncan Robinson. So we kind of from the Heat. So we kind of, connected through that, and that's how we kind of formed the idea of starting this team. So it's just like it's worth more than what I paid because of the networking that I'm, having opportunities to do, and I'm going. And they do like in-person events, so you're meeting these people, and it's just a valuable form of like, even if you do real estate, if you do you're in sports, any of these industries, you're meeting people that have similar interests.
I like what you said, tying sports. So let's do the NFT back to the basketball. So this is a basketball podcast. And I appreciate your time, Brandon. That's actually a pretty good explanation of why you do it. As you know, I am a skeptic, a respectful skeptic, and I like the technology. So I like to hear this. Let's go back to basketball. Now, first of all, Gutter Cat Gang is sponsoring a team this year. There will be a Gutter Cat Gang sponsored team. We're not going to ask you to do it if you can't, but do you have a team in mind? Can you say which team it is? If you can't, that's fine. We just want to know. So go ahead.
In the crypto community, we have a term called alpha, which basically means that we're going to give you some intel.
Okay.
So we have agreed to merge with Team Hines in the Omaha region.
Whoa. Team Hines?
Team Hines.
Hines.
We're really excited to be a part of this. The guys that run Team Hines, Tyler, Kyle, Mo, and Mike, they're just great guys. We've been planning this for over 2 months. So this isn't something that just kind of came up. And it was very hard to keep like my mouth shut about it because it was very exciting. But we're extremely excited to have this, merge with Team Hines. For those who don't know, like from the Gutter community, they're going to watch this. Kyle Hines is one of the most
legend.
He's a legend in Europe. I got to do him justice by reading his stats. So essentially, he's won 4 EuroLeague championships, which is an incredible accomplishment itself. A lot of people don't even win one of those. He's 35 right now, and he just won Defensive Player of the Year in EuroLeague.
I saw that. It's crazy.
How does that even possible? to do that. I mean, you have to be in such good shape at that age to be able to do something like that. So just having him on the team is just going to, like, the Gutter Cat community is going to be so happy to have a team that has reputable players. And he's one of the most respected players in Europe. I mean, he runs the Players Association. So I'm just really excited to partner with those guys.
Yeah, you guys are going out and making a splash then. So you're not just dipping your toe in the water and putting together some guys.
You got to do it the right way.
This is a team that can win it all.
That's why I'm glad that they brought me in.
That's
why I'm glad that they brought me in, because I knew that just from doing this tournament for 6 years before I took a 2-year break, you need a group of people to do it with you the right way. I mean, I was doing pretty much everything myself, and it was a little stressful, and I didn't have the connections necessarily to get these guys to show up once I had them on my roster. So just having this relationship with these guys that are just have a good perception in TBT kind of just made it a no-brainer. So we just had to work with them and make it work.
Wow.
Yeah. Now let me ask you about another player. I don't know if you could speak to it or not, but when I first started hearing about the Gutter Cat gang and entering a team, did some snooping, and so the co-GM, which I don't know his name because I just see his Twitter handle, MP somewhere or other.
Yep.
He runs a podcast called the Blockchain Boys Podcast, and his co-host is who?
It's John Henson.
So can we make any assumptions? Is John Henson associated with this team?
We're still working on him to try to see, because I know he was injured previously. He was playing in Puerto Rico and hurt his calf. So we're trying to still make sure that he's, we don't want to put him in a position to, kind of force him to play if he's hurt. But he's a member of the Gutter Cat community. So, the community already knows John, and he's been to our events in Miami that we had last year. So he's definitely someone that will help regardless. Hopefully he's able to play, but he's going to be a part of this for sure.
Wow.
Man.
That's crazy. Well, hey, Brandon, listen, we're going to bring you back on and talk about the team and the roster fills out. Thanks for dropping the news for us. That's a great thing to know. That's amazing.
We can't announce the whole roster right now, but by the 15th we'll have the roster put up and we'll generate some excitement for everyone.
That's fun. That's plenty of to get things rolling though. So that's we know what Heinz is historically brought to the table. So just kind of knowing that you're affiliated with Heinz and Gutter Cat and some of the resources behind it's going to be fantastic to see. Yep. So really appreciate you jumping on, Brandon.
No problem.
Thanks,
happy to be on, guys. Good to see you.
Okay.
Take care.
See you next time, Brandon. Take care. Wow, we don't usually break news. That's crazy. Kyle Hines. Wow, that's
nuts.
That's craziness. That's
I mean, this is a team that can go all the way regardless. But man, I don't know any of the roster, but I know Hines and Mike James played in the past together, the TBT and Calathis, and I mean they can just put this insane team together. So I can't wait to see what kind of roster they pull up. Even a year when Hines and Calathis couldn't play, they had a roster of overseas pros that was ridiculous. So if they all decide to play and are able to play, man alive, definitely could pose some problems to some of those top seeds out there.
I like the fact they're just coming in hard. They're going straight to the top. We sponsor the team. No, not some small team. We're sponsoring Kyle Hines. That's nuts. That's a huge get for.
Yeah, we'll have to keep learning about this whole NFT game. I don't know, Gutter Cat gangs from apes, from Frenchies, whatever. I don't even know. But it is amazing how many athletes are associated with the NFT community in some form or fashion.
Yeah,
great tie-in to the TBT and great tie-in to basketball. So can't wait to see what they do. And everyone loves fun and excitement, and it sounds like Gutter Cat gang's bringing it.
Wow, that's craziness. Okay, well, anyway, that's big news. We got to finish Bracketology, so we'll keep moving. That's crazy, but let's keep it moving. So, obviously, Kyle Hines, Gutter Cat, big deal. Let's talk about New Mexico. So, now this is a tough one, and this is where the sort of concept comes in. We're going to leave Heartfire's number one here. Everline moved out of the region. So, we're going to put Heartfire as the one, and we're going to leave that Team 23 graphic here for a while still as the combined Heartfire 23. So, we really think it's a quality program. TBT competitive choice. This is the buy team. This is the one buy team we know because the website does say they're purchased in. So they're in. They're a lock. And they probably wouldn't have got in otherwise, which means one bubble spot goes up in smoke. This Team Heartfire team, I think I'm a little more high on than you are. You respect them, but you might be a little softer on them than I am.
Yeah, I think they're going to be good. They're going to be solid. I mean, they made an incredible run last year, and I think it's going to be how do these guys come together? And they're one of the older teams out there. They can still play. They got a lot of great bigs, which typically it's a guard game, and so I think they're going to be good. But a repeat of last year, they're going to have everything working for them.
Wow. So this would be pretty interesting. Now, Challenge ALS always comes to play. We're still learning about the roster. New team, Ram Up. We're talking about a little bit of these teams. And this is actually starting to fill up late with some really quality alumni teams. So ALS versus Ram might be a real interesting first-round game. The Cheaters versus Fort Hood. Now, Fort Hood's around the bubble, but they've always been credible. What does Fort Hood really – is there something they need to do to get in? Like, this is a really tenuous spot, it feels like, with these bye teams coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sed's just got to build that roster out and get those names out there. Who's going to be able to show up, who's going to play. Obviously, when they do show up, they're competitive. They have won in the TBT in the past. So, I don't think TBT is going to shy away from them. I think they have a leg up on many of the other bubble teams. But I think we just got to see that roster and see if it's going to be able to plus themselves up a level or if it's going to be similar to some of the teams in the past, which were good, but I think they got to get a couple pieces in and really stretch the capability of this team where someone can see these guys going deep. Because I think that's important too. Is it a team that we want in and they'll struggle in the first round, or is this someone who can really push it, make a story out of it? And obviously Fort Wounded Warriors, they could definitely do that if they did one or two more pieces.
DJ Steffens, if you're listening, Memphis and Charge, come play with your boys. We're going to keep pimping the Steffens connection. Last time I saw him on Twitter, he was stuck in Frankfurt, Germany. So DJ definitely got to come play for Fort Hood and come on the show too, because they're one of the few players besides you and Crawford that both of us would want to interview for the combined Charge of Memphis reasons. Now, it's good to mention though that the 6th seed is a bubble team because the 8's a bye, and matchups do flex these because Enchantment versus the Panamaniacs. In-state rivalry mayhem. There is no way the Panamaniacs, even though we have them as a 7, are not getting in over Fort Hood. So this is where the seeding doesn't mean – it means quality of team, maybe. It doesn't mean safety. Think of it like when you do the NCAA tournament where even though you're a lower seed, you're safely in. They're going to take a credible alumni team for an in-state game over a non-alumni team. It's just a fact.
Yeah, I think they already announced them. I got to – go back to the website. I thought Panamaniacs was already announced.
I think they might be in. They might be in.
Yeah,
I think they are in, actually.
I'm 99% sure, but I don't want to put my foot in my mouth.
No, that's fine. Better your foot than something else. So then you've got, of course, we got the entry team that's been bought, but this is the only team we know for sure. It is competitive choice. They are in. They've bought it. That's the buy team. That's taken care of. Once a Bronco Charge saw on the website, they announced today, very credible roster. They probably deserve to be seated in here, but unless you're dropping Fort Hood, which I don't feel like doing quite yet, and plus they're such a late ad, I'm not going to drop a credible team for a team that doesn't have a logo yet. Let's just be honest here.
Yeah, they just came in today, but they got, I think, 7 guys on their roster already. And so they're obviously – I think a lot of legwork's getting done this year before teams apply versus in years past. It's like, 120 teams applied and everyone's getting their name in there. Some people – credible, some people not. So it seems like the some of the screening process and scrutiny on the front end is happening more than it may have in the past. But these guys came in, they got videos already, and I think 7 guys on the roster right now.
Yeah, and tears for the fallen. No West Coast Ronin yet. No Kim Shi. No Let It Fly. I really am kind of sad about Kim Shi. I don't think any of them are going to run this year. They haven't applied yet, and I've heard no rumbles. Daniel, if you're listening, please run. We love having you as part of the community, or at least stay involved. Okay, Rucker Park, my hometown of New York City. Here we go. We're going to start in a pretty interesting little region here, as we obviously have a slight graphics delay. It's showing on my screen. There we go. Okay, so we've got the 1 seed, the Ace League Legends. Any team with Brent Jackson and Darius Washington deserves a high seed against the musical darlings and recent guest, the Brooklyn Vultures, was that number 1 single, Let Us Play. Something about machines or something. The Vultures would be a credible 8. 8 should be fun, though. I think the style of play they're going to be would be great on the blacktop. And then we have a couple of assumed teams. So Primetime we have as the 4 seed. They haven't actually applied yet. They've been in every one of these, and I think this is a great region for them, so I think they apply, but prime time has not applied yet. They're an assumed team in. Against HBCU, which did just apply, they're pretty safely in team. Now, autism we know is in. We know Autism Army is in. We know they're a fact. We know they applied here. They're in. They won a first-round game. So this is the safest pick on the board. And we're going to let the Redeem team is in as a 6. We kind of fluctuate between putting Brooklyn and Redeem in the 6 and 8 seeds. But basically, since Redeem's going to be playing for a cause, it felt a little more natural put them against Autism Army. And then, of course, we have the Philly teams. And these are both assumed because they also haven't applied. But we have Brotherly Love and Newman Gretty. I just spoke with the Newman Gretty people, even though they're not in yet. They are applying. They already have 5 commitment videos. They're getting more. So they are in. Brotherly Love gets a 2 seed on the strength of their history, but we've heard nothing about them this year. Nothing.
Yeah, that's a bizarre one because I think early on we did hear some news from them and they were buzzing a little bit. So I hope they get back in. But a lot of the things are different in TBT present than TBT past. So we just got to see how things play out there. But I truly believe you have to have either Brooklyn Vultures or a Redeem team in. I don't think both of them get in though.
We're going to see.
I think this truly the last team in will be either Brooklyn Vultures or Redeem team. They're both looking to go to Rucker because obviously this is kind of going to be high profile region. So I think there's going to be some moves, with TBT and some teams that are not yet announced that will make a splash here because this Rucker, based on where it's at, the National Basketball Players Association, backing it, this is going to end up being a really, really good region. We just got to figure out who's in, who's out. But I definitely think only one Redeem or Brooklyn gets in, both deserving. But we'll see how it goes.
You also see right there, we have the Vulture team going in, and they said we're not afraid of the Florida Gators. So they're already talking shit on the podcast. So we appreciate that. Hey, hope you're doing well, John. So anyway, I will say this too. We've got I kind of want to see a play-in game here. I just want to say let's let Brooklyn and Redeem play for the 8.
That would be amazing, just off to the side. Let's just have it go, pick a date, get them both out there and let them go at it. I'd love to see that.
So you also get the feeling though, however, having said that, I think this is a team that maybe some teams might look to move to because, and this is all respect to the Vultures, to Redeem team, to everybody, there might be some room if a team wants to move there to bump a team that isn't quite as high quality. Not to say that these teams aren't deserving, just there might be some room here. So I could see a team moving here if they're willing to play outdoors. Already we got right there. The Vultures are in. The Vultures just jumping up and down. There you go. He likes the idea about playing game. Let's do it. Let's just have an 8-9 game. Screw it. Let's have Redeem and Vultures play. Do it. Come on.
Yeah,
come on, Dan. Let them
here.
play.
That'll be fun. But I saw on the website Virginia Dream has also switched their
just now
application to sometime today from earlier today when I last pulled it. But Virginia Dream is now pulling Rucker Park, and then there's another team that's not announced yet. That if it comes together, it's going to be a really, really good team that I've been told is applying to Rucker with some really high-level overseas pros, guys with NBA experience, some great coaching. So stay tuned for that. I hope we get some news on that soon, but that could shake things up in Rucker as well.
Now, this is still kind of where we have the most questions. So, again, we have the bubble, Sweet Home Alabama, 919 Raleigh Legends are both bubble teams. Overseas Fit and the mythical Billy Hoyle team, we're still wondering about if they're going to really put their names in the hat. And again, if you would like to come visit me in New York and you want to buy a team, this is one of the few left. There's 3. You can buy your way in. This one, you got $20,000. You want to come play at a historic playground, God Legend Court. Put $20,000 up and bring your boys, and we'll come watch you. No big deal. It should be a fun region.
I'm shocked that one's not bought yet.
What?
I'm shocked that this one's not bought yet.
I'm not, only because it happened late, but we're gonna see this one get purchased at some point. I think all 8 get purchased, obviously. Okay, so we're going to Wichita now. Now the Shocks become the 1 seed, and by the way, I will say this front up: when I did these regions, this is the region. This is one of 2 regions where the seeds got kind of thrown out the window because I hunted matchups, specifically college basketball matchups. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Aftershocks against the North Texas Mean Green TBT team because they are both going to be American Athletic Conference teams in the near future. They're going to be together. Now, this is a team I'm really excited about, and I know you are. We put the Air Raiders, the Texas Tech alumni, against the Stillwater Stars. Last time we still saw Stillwater Stars, they were still being scored on by Eberline Drive. The Air Raiders have put together a very credible team in this Big 12 matchup. I know you're really excited about having Matt Mooney in this.
Oh, yeah. No, Matt Mooney, obviously, charge guy, got some NBA runs, just a good person overall. So I can't wait to see what Air Raiders do. And I think this could be one of the teams where, Texas Tech has competed in the past as the Matadors. And even back then, they came and they're just a feisty team and really go after it. So I think it's going to be a great team. And I love the matchup against Oklahoma State on there. So we'll see how that all plays out. But, this is probably my second favorite region after Xavier because you're going to have a lot of alumni teams here. And the one team that's not an alumni team, we'll talk about Eberline, which you mentioned there below. Obviously going to be loaded once again.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, we're talking a little bit about this region. Team Arkansas versus, again, the coldest logo in the entire tournament, the Fort Worth Funk as a 6, an old Southwest Conference rivalry. A team that's in the SEC versus a Big 12 team. But these guys were conference mates for years. So some bad blood in those fan bases. That might be a nice little delicious small matchup. And then speaking of Eberline, the Drive. And honestly, I had them as the one over the Shocks, but I wanted to put the matchup. And again, this region got tough. So we shoved D3 down to a 7, which is frankly unfair. But the matchups kind of flex where that's kind of where they go from a matchup standpoint. Again, D3 gets a really poisoned chalice here. There are guys we want to see them win. We're both D3 guys. But again, this region got tight real fast, honestly. And I wanted to make them against Eberline as the 1-8, but I think the power of D3 made me move that over to the right side because I really didn't want to give D3 the 8. I think they've outgrown an 8 seed. So I actually moved Eberline to a 2 to accommodate D3 being an overly strong 7. That's my take on the whole thing.
Yeah. Like I said, Aftershocks is home. Aftershocks made a great run last year, so you can't argue with it too much. I think Eberline on paper is going to be the strongest team in the region. If you missed it, like I did, Omari Spellman is playing with Eberline this year, which, Inside TBT put out their top players thus far and totally missed it. Signed with Eberline because I know another team was actively chasing him as well, so they got a prize recruit there, so that's just going to really help them out.
Huge pickup.
And I'm sure they're not done yet. Obviously, they keep things pretty close to the vest during this time of the year. And I'm sure there's, their core from last year. And if they get another surprise or two like Spellman, then this is going to be scary. But the 2 seed fits them well based on last year's performance and Aftershocks being at home.
And this shows, again, the depth of the region. If you'd like to buy your way in, $20,000 gets you a ticket to Wichita, which means you'd be pushing a team like North Texas out probably. I think D3 is safer than North Texas. They've played, they have a name. I think if you have to bump a team out of this region, I think you're actually dumping North Texas. So that buy team may get bought. It may cause some trouble. Also, the bubble, the logo, the logos of USCB, the Salt Lake Dream, credible teams. A lot of smoke around purple and black have not applied. A lot of smoke. I think Chalmers was talking about making my nightmares come true and making himself see on the court again, making me cry again with Self-Made. Forces of Soul was here last year. They haven't applied yet. SCD Hoops. That's 4 credible programs that have not applied that you've heard smoke about. This region could get awfully fast. They could have 12 credible teams plus a bye. I don't know who you cut. This has the potential to actually be as bad as Cincinnati Xavier if it fills up. This could get really nasty really fast. This is probably the second strongest region so far.
Yeah, no, love this region. I love the alumni flavor here. And that's the thing. North Texas is a solid team too. So when you talk about getting bumped, that's just the fact of the matter. You got 5 solids in here, and then 3 that should be in, not counting anything else that happens. So we'll stay tuned to this one. But I'm expecting some shuffling, people getting moved to different regions. But definitely a favorite region of mine in addition to Xavier.
Now, maybe some teams will move here. We've got the Army against India Rising, Brown and White, and the Expats as sort of your left side. Now, Bayheim's is obviously the defending champs. We know they have a serious wallet. We know they're going to come to play. We've heard they may have lost one player, though, already. One player might be relocating. So we have a policy on our show about not really bothering the heavyweight teams until a little closer to the concept, letting the smaller middle-class teams have their day to shine. Because once Bayheim's releases the Army, we know that they're going to be compensated well. So they're going to definitely have a pretty quality roster. The India Rising team, we think that's the buy team, right?
Yeah, I mean, based on what we're seeing, they, looking at their social media, they're doing traveling around the world right now, and getting some good talent. And so I truly believe this is a buy-in team. TBT jumped behind them and gave them support right from the get-go. So that just kind of signs that it's a TBT team that they would love to see in and support. So I'm pretty sure they're to buy in. Without knowing, but I think it's going to be an interesting team, and I think they're going to be much better than people are going to give them credit for. So, we may look at them getting off that 8 line and, not having to go against Bayheim's in round 1 and be a little dangerous and surprise some people. I think this team's going to be fairly good. I
know. If they play nearly as angry as my Indian partner, then they're going to be quite a team to be matched with. Okay, brown and white expats, that's your matchup. Talk to me. What do you see in brown and white?
Yeah, I think both of them are going to come ready to go. Brown and white out there. Just got Tim Hortons as a sponsor. So, you just see how hard working these GMs are, because it takes, an army to put a team in TBT nowadays. So I was pretty excited to see that. But, they have access to a lot of talent. And if they can get everybody there, the right place, right time this summer, dangerous. Expats played hard last year. So, same thing, going to be good. And this is another one, they were very active on social media, nothing recently, so we believe they're going to be in and they'll be competitive as well.
Yeah, we try to catch. They should all be noticed. Assumed I might have missed a few trying to get the slides together. Whoops. Friday Beers, Nerd Team, Blue Collar U, and as a 7 seed, the Big 5 team. So this is pretty interesting. First of all, I love that 3-6 matchup. This might be one of my favorite under the radar matchups. The 3 seed of Friday Beers versus the 6 seed of the Nerd Team. Friday Beers obviously will have a wallet. You're giving AJ Mahar actually a sponsor to roll with, as opposed to just having to do it on his own. Giving a good GM a sponsor gives him a weapon. And the Armored Athlete program is always strong. The Nerd Team has an incredible program. It's going to be really interesting to them get some talented pieces together. Former Memphis player Jelon Kendrick now has joined the team. I'm really excited about seeing him on the court. Tell me your thoughts on Blue Collar U and the Big 5 as a 2-7.
Yeah, no, this one here, obviously, Blue Collar U, I think, surprised everyone last year as a credible program, and then first year into TBT, and they just came out and swatted people last year. I mean, just big time. It looks like most of their core guys are back once again this year. I'm sure they'll get one ad or two, but for them to be out in Syracuse is going to be pretty special. And I think at some point you start to match them up against some of the other alumni teams is going to be pretty well. And this Philadelphia team, so we got the Big 5 TBT. I think these guys are going to come with talent. However, last year 20th and only got snubbed. So, it gets me a little nervous that they're not a lock, despite, having one of the more talented rosters out there in the TBT community, especially in the Syracuse market.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's a really, really high-powered program. I also, having like Wyatt Cleef as a coach, having the leftovers of the 20th only, also adding some other Philly players. Philly has a great basketball culture, so I think it's a really great team to have. Look at this bubble. First of all, again, a team is bought. So this one's bought. You can't buy your way into Syracuse. We think it's India Rising, but we can't confirm it. That's what we think the buy team is. The bubble here gets really interesting because there are 2 teams that were especially hard cuts. And one of them was Mental Toughness. We really think Mental Toughness gets in this bracket. We have them off still. We've had them off in the last one. They're one of a few teams that was a really hard cut. And I have a really strong feeling they sneak in here somehow, either this region or somewhere else. I would be very surprised not to see them in. Now, the question then charge is the Peacocks run to the Elite 8 this year as a historic 15 seed enough to get their alumni team in this year on the Zeitgeist? Yes or no?
This is one where I think alumni always get favor, but I've just not seen it in Syracuse this year. There's just too much going on in Syracuse. The strength of Syracuse is I mean, overwhelming. I just don't know where you slide them in. But I did say, 20th and Olney got snubbed hard last year, so never say never. But they could slide in, and Big Five could be out.
Yeah, so basically, let's say you've got Big Five. You assume India's a bye. Nerd, Big Five. Are either of those teams really worried about mental toughness or Peacock? Yes, correct. They're both really worried about those two teams, right? Less Nerd team, more Big Five, right?
Yeah, I think all those. I think Big Five is the one that's got to be the most nervous about the Peacocks or mental toughness. I think the other teams are pretty steady. And we'll make a good case and we'll be in. But the Big Five is the one that gets me a little concerned that they stick in Syracuse. I think they would definitely be a great fit for Rucker if that worked for their team, just with that grit and going out to the city. But
I'd love to see Big Five at Rucker. I really would, actually.
Yeah,
same. A great place to put them. Okay, so we got a couple more regions to go. We're going long time as usual. Let's go to West Virginia. Now, this region has been reshaped a lot. Our buddy Ott always calls and complains about his seed. He's probably watching right now. I'm sure he's going to be irritated. Actually, let's go back 1 second. You hear my dog putting his thoughts on the matter. I want to go back a second, though. Hang on 1 second, because we actually had a guest who was here a little late, and we are going to bring him on. So we talked about the Big Five. I'd like to bring on their GM to talk a little bit about their chances. We cut him last time. I said we ran out of time. Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Rob. Thanks for swinging by to talk about the Big Five. So first of all, we're kind of going a little long today, so we want to talk a little bit. You're squarely on the bubble. You are very much a team that needs a little bit of luck to get on. 30 seconds, make your case. So let's start there. Why is the Big Five we got to be on? Quick elevator pitch. Go.
Yeah, Big Five, man, we definitely should be on because, obviously, just the Big Five is one of the oldest associations in NCAA basketball in general. It's combined of 5, top programs that's been successful. We have a legit Big Five roster, guys that was player of the year in the Big Five, first team, all Big Five, scoring leaders, etc. We just have the reliable fan base. We're passionate, we're hungry, we're from Philly, we'll play anywhere. And, we just ready to go, man. We got a legit team and, we're really representing, Philadelphia and what it's about. So, I think we definitely deserve, opportunities to compete.
So you mentioned that. Obviously being able to play anywhere. Next follow-up question, I'll let Charge ask you some questions too, but are you willing to go to Rucker if that's what it takes to get in?
Yeah, we're willing to play anywhere. We have the backing, to be able to go anywhere. And, I'll just reiterate, man, we're from Philly. We have that toughness. And, we used to playing outside if we have to go to Rucker. We're ready to play anywhere.
Now, Rob, looking at your profile, you're actually a football guy and actually went to Kent State for a year. So that's my neck of the woods. My son just graduated from Kent State a year or so ago. So that was pretty cool to see. So you're a football guy. How did you get involved with Big Five and become the GM of Big Five?
So just a quick, history on myself. I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm actually – so when you think about all the talent that Philadelphia has had, when it comes to sport, I'm the second athlete from Philadelphia to rush for 3,000 yards in football and score 1,000 points in basketball. So, I have a lot of connections with, all of the guys that actually played basketball, in the Big Five, just all through basketball. If you play basketball or football in Philly, I'm basically connected. So, I'm a fan of the Big Five as well, just the schools that represent Philadelphia. And I really feel like, we just needed to be represented in that way. And I had the resources to, put together a great team. And that's kind of how it all came together.
Yeah, so last year, 20th and Olney got snubbed, which was a crime. I'm still blown away. I was standing 20th and Olney from the beginning, so I don't know if you were involved with TBT in years past and a fan of TBT, but 20th and only inexplicably snubbed. So what do you go into this year differently, trying to kind of rebrand Philadelphia in that area and that style of basketball that's going to be more appealing this year?
Yeah, well, so basically, I was running 20th and Olney last year.
Oh, you were?
And
Oh,
yeah,
horrible.
and basically what happened was we were in, but I lost three of the big time guys that we had literally 2 days before selection to sign their contracts overseas. And that hurt us, in the end of actually being selected. But this year, the guys I have, everything seems, good and we're locked in, we're ready. We actually have three more additions coming up. Another first team All Big Five player, Big Five Rookie of the Year, two-time second team All Big Five player, and we had a kid that went to Temple, but he transferred to Kent State as well, and he was the six-man player of the year. So we still have some great talent that we're going to be announcing soon.
Good for you guys being honest. Many teams show up with players on their roster that never show up for the TBT. So I guess if you lost three guys right before the deadline, yeah, most people wouldn't be nice enough to tell TBT that you lost your players.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it was just kind of going to be hard to replace those guys. So it was better to just kind of be up front than show up with anybody. But this year, like I said, we're locked in. All our schedules are aligning well. All our guys are committed, and we ready to come out here and shock the world and just show everybody what Philly about, what the Big Five is about, and we feel as though we have the roster and the leadership to do so. So we're ready for it. We're ready for it.
Well, at least I feel better that TBT just wasn't totally out of their minds by snubbing 20th and only then. So we'll stop saying 20th and only got snubbed and TBT's crazy, and appreciate the color around that story.
Yeah, no, definitely, because I was just sitting back and I just was listening to all of the reports saying that we were snubbed, and it is what it is. But we came back stronger this year, because another thing was just like when you're doing the alumni team. Sometimes the smaller capacity alumni teams, when you lose some of the top guys, it's kind of hard to replace it. So, I thought that, doing the Big Five would be a better idea, being that we have, 5 schools to choose from. So our pool of players is way more, just we have way more players to pull from. So it's coming together well. We got Khalif Wyatt, Ramon Galloway, a lot of big time guys, Ryan Daly, that all were stars in the Big Five. So we're excited.
Okay, well, Rob, thanks for coming on. We gotta go because we're a little over on time, but we'll have you back on and talk about once you guys get in.
Definitely, Hannah. I appreciate you guys.
Hey, thanks,
okay, Rob. Thanks for coming on, man. Take care.
Right, no
That's Rob of the Big Five. Thank you so much for coming on. No one's ever explained to me how Drexel's not part of the Big Five, but obviously it's just how the life works, I guess. Okay, 2 more regions to go. We're going to light on time, so we're going to keep it moving. West Virginia, our buddy out's going to come yell at us. But let's do the left side first. Now, the thing is interesting, of the 1-8, we've got West Virginia against a new ad, the Flame Nation, the Liberty team. That's pretty interesting to me. I'm not sure they have enough to get in, but we're going to put them in the bracket this time. Dickie V, which they have a bid. We know they have a bid because they won a game last year, their first win. We love the leadership of the team. They're light on players, and we've heard nothing about the team. So even though we have them at 4 seed out of respect for the program, out of respect they have, we haven't heard much. There are a couple teams who may not run. We're wondering if even they have a bid, they may not run. And then finally, Matt Moschella's War Ready, the always ready to go, but never ready to win, War Ready, War Eagle Auburn team. Pretty interesting side. What on this left side stands out to you?
Yeah. War Ready is going to be the story of this bracket. I mean, right behind West Virginia, and heard that, who comes out of there. But, obviously, Matt, we've known for a lot of years through the TBT, and you giving him a your share of grief on there. But I think this is going to be the year where War Ready breaks out and generates some buzz and gets things on the right path. So they're more focused than ever. So looking forward to seeing them get their first win. But yeah, so Scarborough's alma mater there, Liberty Flames. So he's pulling for those guys to get in. And if he calls their game, I think it's going to be very heavily favoring the Flames.
So let's do the right side real quick. We actually have one more guest we'll bring on in just a second. But we've got the right side of the bracket. We have East Tennessee and Woco. We promoted to a 6. Mainly get that sort of conference rivalry because Wofford and East Tennessee are in the same conference. And then we went ahead and just got tired of Ott bitching. So Ott heard that's now a 2 seed, but also helped set up a matchup with Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers is underseeded in Woco. They should flip. But we gave it based on conference rivalries because Heard That and James Madison are both going to be new future conference members of the I'm sorry, I almost said the Alliance on the Sun Belt, which means I want to get some conference rivalries there. Now, and of course, then we have a pretty crowded bubble. The entry fee, you can buy your way in if you've got cash. And actually, this is a very tight bubble, some pretty good teams. The Virginia Dream are one of my last 4 out. Now, I've given Mr. Moschella a lot of grief, but it's always based in love. Always based in love. So I love Matt. And to go ahead and give us grief back, we have the GM of War Ready. Matt Moschella is in the house. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm doing fine. We're doing fine. All right, Matt. 5 seed. We're overseeding you now, aren't we?
We'll take whatever you guys give us. We got to play a lot better than we have the last couple of years, but we're excited.
No, so Matt, obviously Hainer gives you grief. High expectations for War Ready, just like every other year. What's different about this year? So obviously took your lumps the last couple of years and continue to fine tune the team. So what's different about this team and what makes it the breakout year for you guys?
So truthfully, I think everyone on our roster this year plays overseas basketball. So everyone should be in shape. Basketball shape especially. I think we added some great non-alumni guys, that people are really high on. We actually took a couple guys from Heard That, so I, definitely interested to see how that works out. But I really think this is one of our better teams that we've had, and we're, on the verge of possibly adding another guy or 2 as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Makes sense. Okay, so obviously, we know how good you've been at leading with Tampa 2020 and with War Ready. You always come, you have great marking, you're ready to play. You've just had some pretty bad luck. What do you tell Auburn fans who are really frustrated at this point? I know how hard you work. We give you crap. It's all about love. We're one of the teams we were rooting for just to get a win because we know how hard you work. Why is this year going to be different? Besides spiritually, what can you guys do to get some good vibes?
Well, I mean, we're planning, a training camp down here in Tampa, so that's going to be a lot more easier. I think, we'll be a lot more prepared. We're going to have a couple practice days where we, go mornings and nights, to get more run together. I just think we have a better team this year than we did, especially, last year. Last year I was in a rush because it's truthfully only the first year we were the Auburn full alumni team because the bubble team was really only 3 guys from Auburn. So I feel like it's, it's really only a 1-year thing as the full Auburn team, so it was just a bad first year. I just tried to get as many Auburn guys as I could. And
definitely.
We'll go from there. But I think this year, we've added some very good pros, and I think they're going to help us, and Auburn fans should definitely be excited to see those guys.
Yeah, no, they still rally around you. Obviously, they're definitely hungry for a win. Passionate fan base, really support Auburn, but some of the comments looking for that first win this year. So, no pressure, Matt.
Yeah, no pressure.
We're excited. We're excited. I think the guys understand what they have to do. Everyone has to just take it more serious, and it's definitely. I heard the guy talking earlier. It's definitely a little difficult for me doing it by myself, but I think. I'm going to make it work this year, and we're gonna get that win. I'm going to guarantee it.
Okay, so Matt, obviously we're a little time, so we're going to keep you for a couple more questions, one TBT and one not. TBT, I'll ask you the question real quick. War Ready, if you guys get a win this year, I know you guys have been trying to get over the hump. If you can credibly get a win or 2 this year and really make good on your seed, make good on your run, is there an Auburn regional in the future, you think?
I think so. I think if we can get a couple wins,
Maybe let's just start with one win. Let's not look over anything. Let's just get a
One game
win,
at a time.
and if we can win, a couple games and possibly get the date, and I definitely, think that you would see a regional in Auburn. We definitely have a top 5 fan base in the tournament. So I think they would all show up there.
Okay, and last non-TBT question. I'm cutting Charge off. We're low on time. I apologize to Charge.
You're good.
You work at you do concessions at the Tampa Bay Hockey Stadium, correct? So you'll be watching Tampa Bay versus the Rangers, correct?
Yes, I will.
So how many goals do you think Tampa Bay is going to lose to every game to the Rangers of New York? Like, how much of an ass whipping are the Lightning going to take in the playoffs?
I think we're going to win in 5. So there's my answer.
5-5. Well,
Yep.
With your track record of winning, I'm sure you can't go wrong with that prediction. Matt, thanks for swinging by. Yep.
One last thing. I got the Lightning
Please.
playing, and I have the Celtics in the final. So my track winning this year is doing well. So, I'm excited.
Well, let's see it
work at a
extend.
time. Yep.
Let's see it extend to War Ready then. All right, War Damn Eagle. Matt, thanks for swinging by.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, Matt.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Cool. We're definitely have to have him on longer once we have more time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, he shot me a nasty gram about Team DRC the other day because I don't think DRC should be in this year. So you have them on the bubble out. They didn't show up with a full team last year. Obviously a lot of guys from Tampa down there. Matt knows some of those guys, but this is a team they've been in for a lot of years. It's not the same team that it was in the past, and so the name's recognizable. But unless they really step up big or do a buy-in, I can see them being on the outs this year, in my opinion.
And the buy-in's available here. I will say I want to give a special shout out to 2 teams in the bubble. The Web is credible, but they need to add some more roster, kind of light on players, I think, right now. Virginia Dream, even though they don't have a narrative and they're a new team, I want to give them a special shout out. Their roster's set. They have a narrative. They're working hard online. The Virginia Dream really need to be taken seriously. I can see them squeezing in. They're one of the 2 or 3 toughest cuts. They're a last team out, actually. Despite not being a known quantity, their roster's filled out. They're professional. They seem to be well run. They're a team I could really see squeezing into this bracket somehow. So I want to give them a special shout out. Okay, one more region. We're just going to throw them up on the board because we are low on time. The Dayton region. Now, we're going to go ahead and skip the pretense here and just get straight to the slide. We're going to skip the whole thing and just overload it. And this one actually hasn't changed much, so we can kind of do this. Now, one thing we will say, the entry team to Dayton has been bought, and I'm pretty sure it's none of these teams. So someone's going to be crying out of this. I'll also say that Mid-American Unity is not officially applied. So actually, we only have 7 official applicants. We threw Mid-American Unity in over Wolfblood and Assembly Hall. None of those 3 is officially applied to my knowledge. Currently on the website, I only see 7. I could be wrong. I see the top 7 seeds. So the 8 went to Mid-American Unity, our gents Michael Perini. Obviously, if they're LeBron ties, that's a team they always like to get in. Would you be intrigued to see Indiana get in, though, like to have the Assembly Hall team in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be a great region being down there in Dayton, not too far from Indiana. I think, we're seeing this rush of alumni teams this year, a lot of kind of middle-level teams, and they start to be able to pull in some of the Indianas of the world. I think could be great for TBT. Just a great story, great for that region of Dayton. So, it seems like they're pretty organized online. I'm surprised we haven't seen them officially on the website yet, so I see no reason why they're not going to be in play here. But, they'll be a good team. They'll show up and play, and a lot of intriguing matchups. You can slot them in anywhere and get some really intriguing matchups here. And
just in case people are listening to the podcast, 1-8 Eagles Mid-American Unity, 4-5 Mackey Cat 5, 3-6 Carmen's Ohio, 2-7 Red Scare All-Stars, all credible. If I'm the 6 through 8 seeds, though, I'm really here worried about the entry fee team, the bye team, and I'm worried about Indiana and Wolfblood. I'm getting a little concerned if I'm one of those teams. So this is I think Ohio, Peoria All-Stars, and Mid-American Unity are really the bubble here. And let's get into the bubble. Let's start talking. We've done all the regions, scrubbed the list. Let's do the math. So we have we have the host teams. There's 8 host teams. And then we have the auto bids and accepted. And actually, I think this slide's slightly off because I think actually we have to add, I believe you're right. I think the Panamaniacs are in. So there should be, I think it's 34 teams, actually not 33. So you can see we also have a slight green highlighting at the bottom of that column for competitive choice because they have bought their way in. So that's 33, 34 spots taken. Then we also have your locks and likely or presumed going to 52. Those orange ones really love primetime players, expats, and overtime elite are presumed in. These are presumed. So these are teams that we think are going to apply or going to get in. And then that gives us a bubble, and that's the yellow of the next slide. Gives us a bubble of a frozen computer. Technology. There we go. Okay. It gives us a bubble. Here we go. Of about 12 bubble slots. Okay. So if you are the Crew, B1, Fort Hood, Redeemed, NG Saints, the Vultures, North Texas, India Rising, Big Five, Liberty, Mid-American, Apuria, you have every right to think your spot in our bracket is not God's law. It is very much up for grabs. And your credible bubble teams, we count about 20 or so, a little less than 20. That's on the upper left quadrant. Your toughest cuts right now seem to be Mental Toughness is a tough cut. Virginia Dream, Diabetes Peacock, Hoops for ALSF, and Team DRC. That's kind of your cut line. Those 6 are really the top of your cut line. The Web can add some more players. The guys from St. Louis might be credible. That's some teams you can add. And then we have your sort of wonder if they're applying list. Again, is House of Pain going to apply? Are the Volunteers, Wolfblood, Overlooked, Kimchi? These are teams we haven't heard enough about or haven't applied. So you can see even that soft 12 bubble slots, there are 30 teams on the right or so that really could have a say in what happens. So this is going to get pretty crowded pretty fast. Charge, this is looking pretty dense already, correct?
Oh yeah, and it happens every year. These last 2 weeks are going to be kind of that sprint towards the finish line. So there's going to be some things that we think is, going down one path and is going to totally veer off. There's always, like I said, I think Rutgers is going to be one where I think you're going to get probably at least 2 teams that are not in the mix. They're not applied for. They're just going to come out of nowhere because Rutgers is going to be insane. So they're going to definitely find some teams to fill some excitement and some buzz out there. So, be looking for that to kind of fill up and some of those bubble teams be popped out. But it's typical TBT stuff this time of year. There's only so many spots and so many GMs working hard to make their case. But we'll see over the next 2 weeks what happens.
And worth mentioning, right there is our slide. This is the full projected field. Couple things to say. If your team is not on this slide, we don't know about you, which means if you want to get the word out, we don't know about you, it's a bad sign. Let's be honest. If we don't see you, no one's seeing you because we're obsessive and have no lives and are losers. Also, again, all the buy teams aren't accounted for. 5 of the 8 are bought. We think India Rising, we think Overtime Elite are 2 of those teams, but there's still 3 lurking out there we can't account for. Our competitive is one of them too. So there's 2 out there we can't account for. We have no idea who they are. So there's 2 spots, even though the teams that are in, that aren't really in. Think of those auto bids. So we have a bit of an issue here. So if you're at the bottom of this bracket, you got to wonder. Last thing we'll talk about tonight, the big ifs. Again, always the teams that are out there that we're not sure if we're going to hear from again. A very good, credible list of teams. Your Overseas Elite, your Ram Nations, your Colorado, Team CP3. These teams that may enter, that have entered in the past, haven't heard from yet. But anybody on the slide could really affect what's going to happen in TBT. So any of these teams putting their hat in the ring would really mix things up a bit. Okay, Charge. We've gone a little long today. Any final thoughts as we go?
No, I think obviously a great episode. Loved having Brandon and the Gutter Cat gangs on. Wow. If you missed the beginning of the episode, Team Hines. So broke that here on ZoomTheTBT. So they will be partnering with Team Hines, which is one of the most well-respected teams in the TBT. So that was incredible, and just learning about what that community is all about and the passion from Brandon. I'm sure if they can bring that same passion into a TBT team, this is going to be a dangerous combination. And then, this is just TBT this time of the year. So it's time to put all your cards in, not be holding anything back, and put it all out there for the TBT to see. So I'm looking forward to the surprises over the next couple of weeks. I would assume a minimum of 2 to 5 surprises. A team no one's talked about, no one's heard of yet, that they're keeping close, and when those start to break, that's where the fun really starts. It's going to be a quick turnaround. I saw Wichita announced that on the 22nd they'll find out who their opponent will be and kind of hyping up buying tickets. So I'm sure we'll have another good TBT reveal show. So they've done a great job in the past couple of years doing that. So look for the 22nd as the next date after the 15th for TBT fans and where your team's going to play and who they're going to play against.
That's 3 weeks out. I'll let you have the last word today. This has been Zoom the TBT of Charge and Hayner, signing off.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.